This is episode number 2 of JC Unplugged, and I'm so excited about today's guest, my man, Mr. Danny Koker. How's it going, buddy?
What's up, JC? It is great to see you and great to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, I'm so looking forward to chatting with you because you and I have done many things over the past, I don't know, maybe 10 years. They've all been quick little snippets,
Yeah.
5 minutes here,
Yeah.
8-minute TV segment. You've done my personal YouTube show a couple times, but I'm looking forward to chatting with you long form today.
Brother, I'm in, man. I look forward to it as well. I've always been a fan of yours. You always do great stuff. And it's an honor to be here, man. Congratulations on this gig. This is wonderful.
Thanks, brother. Well, let's talk about gigs. The first thing I have to ask is the counting cars, the future of it. Anytime I see someone, they know I'm tied in the car world in Las Vegas. They ask me, I'm like, I don't know what's so I'll ask Danny next time I see him.
Okay.
Counting cars, what's the future of the show? What's the next big car project for you?
Okay. Here's what's going on with counting cars. We are done. We're not doing counting cars anymore. It is done. It was the longest running automotive build show in history. As far as a build show is, there's been some long running car shows, but a build show ran a little over 10 years, was absolutely amazing around the world. Fantastic. And now, with all the non-disclosures, you can't say anything, but I can say this. I am, very, very inches away. We're signing a new deal with a whole new automotive show, and we're this close. So soon I'll be able to say, this is what we're doing. Right now I can't say, but we're close.
But with the fact that you have something, or you're signing an NDA and you're this close to getting something done, I think that whets the fans, whets our appetite.
Amen, brother. I love our fans. We've been supported by such great people over the years. Our fans are the coolest people around, and they've been asking, come on, man, we got to get something else. We got to get something else. And so it's definitely time. I'm working with some wonderful people. We've designed an amazing, cool automotive show. And I'm not kidding you when I tell you we are inches away from putting ink on the paper. So yeah. We got something cool coming here in just a minute.
I love it. I love it. Where's the market going right now when it comes to cars? Is it the 80s and 90s stuff that's the hot thing right now? What's the hot thing right now?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm such a classic guy. So, for me, it's the old stuff. It's the hot rods. It's the muscle cars. The classics. It's all of that stuff that I just love so much. But in watching the market, as far as values and the trends and things along those lines, it is progressing. I'm seeing vehicles that were built in the 80s that really nobody cared too much about just a handful of years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm watching them, go up like crazy. There's some great examples. A lot of the G-body rides, stuff that, the Cutlasses and the Monte Carlos and the Regals and things like that were, in that 80s to 90s eras that, were basically disposable rides at one time in our lives are now, climbing and they're going up big, they're going up fast, they're going up strong. I mean, I always know that like things like the Grand Nationals, they've always been good. But if you're watching Grand Nationals now, they're great. They're going up through the roof. And especially if you can score like, a rare GNX or something like that. But yeah, I agree. You're seeing a trend. The reason I believe you're seeing that trend is you're seeing the next generation of people come into that time in their lives when they're looking for that toy that maybe their dad had when they were a kid, or they're looking for something that, their buddy had in high school. So as that generation is now coming into that time in their lives, you're looking at stuff from the 80s and the 90s. And I think it's way cool. We've recently done some vehicles for people, like Suburbans from the 80s or the 90s, or things like that you never would have thought of. There's a whole lot of that happening right now. So yeah, I believe the classics will always hold theirs, and hot rods will always hold theirs, and muscle cars will always hold theirs. But we are seeing some trends of the 80s and 90s. Interesting cars too, like the early 80s Z28s.
Yes,
like an early 80s IROC Z. You know,
Right.
that there was a time in our lives that people were just giving them away. And they are now, wow, they're coming back around strong. So absolutely, I'm seeing that trend.
Well, I had the privilege of seeing Kevin's 78 Z28 out there outside your shop. Did an
Yeah,
episode
man.
on,
Yeah,
on
man.
his car. And oh my gosh, that thing is just, I mean, talk about a monstrous car. The thing is
Oh, it's
so
cool.
loud. It is so
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful yellow color. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, his Z28 is a straight up tribute to the cars that we had when we were in high school. I too had a 79 Z28 in high school. Kevin always wanted, that era Z28. So when he scored that car, he did it like we did it back in school. It's jacked up. It's got the deep Kragers on it, and the extra long pipes and the the traction bars, and all the things that we did to these cars when we were kids. And it's very correct. It's really a correct ride. I know he's gonna keep working on it like he did with his Cadillac and everything. He's gonna keep stepping it up, but it's a cool car.
Yeah, it's a really cool car.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned high school days.
Yeah.
You moved not here. You were here from what, 78 to 82. So you were here for your high school years in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to Valley High School.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know you went to high school here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I graduated Valley 81. Yeah. Yeah, and then I went to UNLV for a minute. Yeah.
So I didn't know you did UNLV. What was UNLV? What was college like for you back in the early 80s?
It was great, man. I mean, the campus was safe, which was nice. Everybody was cool.
Yeah.
And I was just, studying basics. It was my first year of college. So it was just taking all the basic classes and things like that. But it was a lot of fun. UNLV was fantastic back then. Even Valley High School was, fantastic back then. Let's go.
Do you ever go back to Valley High School? Because you have to be probably one of their most famous alumni, I'm guessing.
I have not. I have, oh my gosh, it's so funny you say that, because I've thought about it a lot. I've thought about going by there and just saying hello and letting them know, I graduated from there. And if there's ever anything I can do to be helpful to Valley High School, I would do that. I have not ever done it yet, but you may have just tempted me to do it again, so I might have.
If it's not on there, if you ever go to a Wikipedia page for every high school, it lists notable alumni. And if your name is not on there, I'm going to Wikipedia once we're done this afternoon, and I'm adding you to the notable alumni to Valley High School.
Dude, please do. That would be a lot of fun, because I was supposed to graduate in 82, but I was that guy who really wanted to get out of school early, so I opted for summer classes.
No kidding.
And built up my credits. So by the time my junior year was done, I only needed, I think, 2 credits or something to graduate. So I just took summer school, give me my credits, send me my diploma in the mail, and peace out. So I graduated a year early. I was supposed to graduate in 82, but I graduated in 81.
So that makes a lot of sense, because so you're here in 81, 82, your dad gets a gig up in Minnesota? Did he leave Vegas and go to Minnesota?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. He landed a license to put on a new television station in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and school was not really my thing. I am that guy that is pro school. I am that guy who says stay in school. It's a great thing. It just really wasn't me, and so I took the opportunity and I moved to Minneapolis as well. And went to work at a television station, because I'd been around TV forever. I don't even know if you know this part, but I mean, like I was a sound guy. Then from a sound guy, I became an editor. From an editor, I worked on the studio floor, a floor director, then a camera guy. Then from camera guy became a technical director, and from a technical director, I'm a director, and I'm prolific up to like 5 or 6 cameras live. I did all that for years, man. I've directed a lot of things over the years. I used to work out of Minneapolis. Our studio in Minneapolis was either the biggest soundstage or the second largest soundstage in Minneapolis. This was WFBT Channel 29 in Minneapolis. We put that on the air. And so we did all of the AWA wrestling live in our studio with a live studio audience and the whole bit. I worked with all of those guys back in the day, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all those guys. And then I was literally the apron camera guy standing on the apron of the ring, doing all the camera work. And then when all the shooting was done, I would go in the edit bay and I would work with Vern Gagne and Greg Gagne all night long, editing the shows, putting it all together.
You were a camera guy for the AWA in the 80s?
Yeah, and the editor. And I was the editor for the show. Absolutely.
So this is the Hogan days, Jesse Ventura, before these guys.
Absolutely. I knew Jesse. Yeah. Yeah. What was it? Who was the Claw? He was the Claw. He was the Claw. Oh my Lord.
Baron von Raschke.
Baron von Raschke. Yep. I knew the Baron, Rock and Roll Zoom Off, all of those guys, man. I worked with all of those guys back in the day. Yeah.
What was it like working with like Hogan and those guys back in the day?
They were great. I'm talking, these guys were complete gentlemen, very professional. And they're all friends behind the scenes.
Yeah.
For the most part. And they even took me on the road. I went on the road and I shot with them. I went to Chicago and shot like the Battle Royale at the Rosemont Horizon.
Oh my gosh.
Back in the day, all this kind of stuff. Absolutely, man. I was their guy back in the day. Yeah.
Were you on camera at all? Were we ever any shots where we see
it would have been an accident. It would have been an accident if you got a camera guy in the shot. If you would have seen me standing on the apron, some skinny little kid. That was me.
So you go from Vegas to Minnesota, but what brings you down to? Because I know you spent some time down in Florida as well. Yeah. What takes you down to go to Florida? Why do you need Minnesota?
It was really interesting because my father, after we put Channel 29 on in Minneapolis and owned and operated that station for probably, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, something like that. And a large conglomerate television group came in and wanted to purchase it. And so my father cut a deal and sold the television station, and he did very well with it, God bless him. And at that point in his life, he kind of looked at my mom and looked at the rest of us and said, "Where you want to go?" And so forever, he and Mom had been vacationing in South Florida. And so they decided they wanted to move to South Florida. And for me, I basically had, no ties to anywhere. So let's go. So we, the whole family moved to South Florida, moved to North Palm Beach. And I went to work immediately. I opened up a small production house. I had an edit bay. I bought 3 Ikegami cameras and I had no studio, but you're in South Florida. The world is your studio.
Right.
I used to shoot all over the place, all over South Florida, come back to my edit bay and edit. I had a lot of good clients. And one of my clients that I picked up was FP&L, Florida Power and Light. They had their own in-house television show. So I was probably working for FP&L doing their in-house television show 3 days a week. And then I was surfing 2 days a week.
You surfed?
Yeah, I used to, man. I was quite the surfer, man. I would work 3 or 4 days a week and I would surf the other days. So yeah.
I know Danny Koker, the surfer. Right?
Yeah, man.
This is what I love about this, my Unplugged. So I get to go deep with the people that I love. I had no idea that you were a surfer.
Yeah. For all the surf geeks out there, okay, I had a Local Motion original Louis Faria signature series surfboard, tri-fin, hard rail, 5'11", was a wicked board. It's a collector board now. It's really cool, but
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I gave that to a friend when I left Florida, so I wish I still had it just to hang it on the wall.
Well, you and I have spoken about your father before. Your father just seems like was just an amazing man. Military, right?
Yep. Dad was a 10th Special Forces Green Beret, what they call one of the originals. I've even been invited to the 10th group in Colorado where he trained for Special Forces and toured up there, spent a couple days. And they call him an original, is what it was called. He was one of the real deal guys. Used to jump out of perfectly good airplanes, and this was during the Korean War back in the day. And he was something else. He also he played hockey for Army. He was on the Army hockey team back in the day, and a musician. And that was he did a lot of amazing things. My father was the biggest influence in my life.
Well, yeah, and you talk about him, and I hear the love that you used to have for your father.
I get thick in the throat.
I'm sure the stories you tell just seems like an amazing man. You mentioned hockey.
Yeah.
He was a baseball player too, right?
Absolutely. He was a pitcher. He was a left-handed pitcher. And it was something else. He was actually drafted for a moment by the Tigers. And so they wanted him to play, but he decided that he was going to go into music. And so, he went that route instead. But he actually, pitched at Tiger Stadium a few times, which was really
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, your dad worked with some legends too, like Johnny Cash, right?
Absolutely. Johnny Cash was he was a friend of the family. I met Johnny back in the day. I was blessed as a young man to be able to be around Johnny Cash. Talk about just a huge persona, really cool cat. But yeah, Dad worked with Johnny. Yep.
Well, I want to talk about your family some more because your family's just, I mean, you're amazing. Your family's amazing. You two of your uncles, right? One of your uncles was a reverend.
That was Rex Humbard.
Uh-huh.
The Reverend Rex Humbard. Well, no blood, but because the families grew up together, he was always Uncle Rex. And so our family and the Humbard family really, I mean, and it's so funny. I just talked to my mom earlier on the phone today. The Humbard family and the Koker family, we're still family. She was on the phone today with Rex Humbard Jr., Uncle Rex's son, Susie, his wife, but our families were so intertwined that we were literally became family. And so my father was Uncle Rex's music director. The Reverend Rex Humbard was one of the very first television evangelists back in the day, and was legit. I know that can ruffle feathers because there were a lot of corrupt gentlemen back in the day. But Uncle Rex was the real deal, and he was Elvis's minister.
That's where I'm going with this. Yeah. So he did
Elvis's funeral, the whole bit. He'd been to Graceland several times with Elvis and all this type of stuff. So him and Elvis were very close. But my father was his music director for 20 years. And I sang as a young guy in the huge Rex Humbard family singers where, we were on the road for 2.5 years traveling the world, singing gospel music with Uncle Rex all over the world. So, yeah.
Was you toured as a gospel singer as a kid?
I did. I'm an old school gospel singer. That's yeah, man. I love it.
I knew that about you. I just figured you were in church and stuff. I didn't know you went on tour the whole time.
Traveled the world, man. I was fortunate enough to literally travel this world. I mean, we were everywhere. We spent 2.5 years on the road. We had a tutor because there was, in the family singers, there were a bunch of us kids, that were in school. And so they had a tutor that would fly and travel with us on the road that worked with all the schools that we were supposed to be in and making sure that we were doing all of our assignments and learning and things like that. We were on the road 2.5 years on the road.
You've done more by the age of 17 than most people do their entire life. Your life is fascinating.
I've thought that same thing. And, when I tell my story, it sounds like I'm lying. It sounds like BS. It sounds like there's no way. And I hear it myself. And just like you said, I have done so much in my life. I feel like I've lived 4 lifetimes already, and I'm still going. I still got more stuff to do.
I want to point it out. I can give you the information, when we're done. But you talk about your Uncle Rex and being at Elvis's funeral, being the minister for his funeral.
Yeah.
The Bible that he used and held and spoke from, when he was done, he gifted it to another gentleman. That gentleman, I think, has since passed on, and that Bible is now for sale.
Do you know who that gentleman is?
Oh, the guy that had it that passed away? I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay.
It was like your Uncle Rex's buddy or something that was there.
Okay.
And he gave it to him. And so that Bible now, there's like an auction house that has the Bible that your Uncle Rex,
that's huge.
Elvis's funeral is like for auction right now.
That's huge. I have one from Uncle Rex too, by the way.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, he did my wedding.
Did he really?
He did my wedding. Yeah, man. So this was back in 2001, and he did my wedding and the Bible that he used and the sermon in it and the whole bit. I have him. It's extremely cool. He did a lot of big celebrity weddings over the years too. Uncle Rex did, man. He's something else. He was something else.
And then, okay, let's talk about some of your aunts that worked for Ford, right, during the war.
Yeah, absolutely. So my whole family on my father's side, all out of Detroit. So my grandparents, my father's parents, came over on a boat from Yugoslavia, and settled in Detroit. And so my whole father's side of the family was out of Detroit. I was born in Akron, Ohio, but my father being a musician half the time on the road, I would spend half my time in Ohio and half my time in Detroit, back and forth, depending on when Dad was on the road. So I grew up in those two cities, and my aunts, they all worked on the assembly line, and so it was interesting that back in the war times too, they were the ones they were building wings for the planes, because all the car manufacturers got converted to military equipment. During the wartime, they were doing, because the wings were all material sewn, stretched, and so they were doing all of that. And then when the war was over, everything went back to cars. And then my uncle Peter Koker, he was actually the highest ranking executive at Ford Motor Company without a college education. Uncle Peter climbed the ladder higher than anybody without a college degree at Ford Motor Company at that time. He was the highest ranking executive, and he did amazing things with Ford back in the day. But I remember Uncle Peter's house, he always had the toys. He had, cool cars, hot rods, motorcycles, things like that. So it was always fun as a kid going to Uncle Peter's house and, and play with the toys. So that was awesome. My other uncle was Uncle Milford. Uncle Milford was a biker and a bit of a troublemaker back in the day. My grandmother used to have to go bail him out on occasion. And of course, we didn't talk about that as a kid. But later, Uncle Milford, then he joined a Formula One team, and he was a pit crew chief for Formula One. So he moved to Europe, and he was doing all that stuff there. So the car stuff and the bike stuff, I come by it honest. It is literally it's in my blood. Cars, bikes, music are just in my blood.
So we're in Florida. We make the move to Las Vegas because your dad opens a station or buys a station out here.
Yeah. So we're living in Florida, and he got a call because when we lived out here in Vegas before, we had friends. So we got a call from a friend out here that said, it looks like I'm getting granted a license for a new television station in Las Vegas, and I have no idea what to do. So my father partnered up with him and decided he was going to come out here to Vegas to put on, now it's Channel 33, KFBT, Channel 33. And KFBT, by the way, stands for Koker Family Broadcasting Television. When we put that station on, and we put on Channel 33,
it's not really?
That's what KFBT stands for, Koker Family Broadcasting Television. So he asked me, he's like, what do you want to do? So I said, I'm in. So I sold the production company that I had set up in Florida. It was called Surfside Teleproductions. I sold that, sold all my gear, sold all my stuff, came out here to Vegas and put the TV station on here, and was the production manager for Channel 33 for the first 11 years of that station being on the air.
And is that where you developed the Count Cool Rider character?
Yeah, man. So, growing up in the major cities of Cleveland and Detroit, we had horror movie hosts, man. There was Big Chuck and Houlihan out of Cleveland back in the day. And then of course there was Sir Graves Ghastly out of Detroit back in the day. So I always grew up watching that. And Channel 33, when we put it on here in Vegas, was an independent television station. So we had no network affiliation at all at the time. And so there was no news, no anything, no TV personalities at all to relate to the community. And we had just kind of collectively, the whole team there, the sales department, the general manager, the family, we all decided we need to do something where we can get a personality on television. And being a horror fan and growing up watching those great horror shows out of those major cities, I wanted to do that. And so we decided, let's do a horror show. So we developed a late night horror show called Saturday Fright at the Movies with your host, Count Cool Rider, which Count Cool Rider, you look at the initials, it's CC Rider. And the character was a vampire that loved Elvis and lived in Vegas and was a biker and was a music guy. So a lot of it was me posing as a vampire living in Vegas. And for a little over 10 years, man, I hosted late night horror films on Channel 33 from 10 till midnight for a little over 10 years, man. Had all kinds of crazy guests, music guests, local guests, national guests. And then the station had a personality now. where we could
Yes.
go and get involved in the community for different community things, you know. So I would go out around town as the count, you know, doing things. If it was at nighttime, I've got a black hot rod Lincoln that was all I customized it just for the count's characters. Got bat wings and throws flames and all this kind of stuff. I would drive that myself if it was in the evening time, but if it was in the daytime, you know, I can't be out in the sun.
That's right.
Right. So I bought this crazy 67 Cadillac hearse from a biker club here in town and completely hot rodded it and modified it, turned it into a limo inside.
Yeah.
Have my team drive me places in the day if I had to go somewhere in the day.
Commitment to your character. Yeah.
A lot of fun. Well, and that's how Counts Customs happened, because behind the scenes, okay, so I'm production manager at Channel 33. And then I'm hosting late night horror films for 10 years. Well, during that time, my love and my hobby for cars, which I had a small hobby shop in Florida before I came here. So I also set up a small hobby shop behind the scenes here in Vegas. And I was working on cars and motorcycles just behind the scenes. And then I had gathered up a handful of guys that were also into it as a hobby shop. And we were doing stuff. And it got to the point where people around town were noticing what we were doing. They were loving the hot rods and they were loving the motorcycles. And so we kind of collectively decided, you know, we might ought to turn this into a legitimate business. There's something here. So we decided we're going to turn our hobby shop into a business, and we needed a name. And because Count Cool was on TV for 10 years here in Vegas, everybody in Vegas knew the Count. Well, we called the hot rod shop and the bike shop, let's call it Counts Customs. Next thing you know, Counts Customs gets picked up by a network and it's around the world. So it's hilarious now. I'll make appearances around the country. Like I just got back from Detroit, the big Autorama down there. I do all these shows everywhere. And it's so funny, you know, you'll be in another city or whatever, or frankly, another country, and people ask you, well, how'd you come up with the name Counts Customs? And you have to explain to them, I was a psychotic, crazy vampire for 10 years on television. And they're all like looking at you like, what? Yeah, so that's where it came from. I never knew it was going to grow past our city limits, you know. So it was Counts Customs back in the day, and now the world knows I'm a vampire.
Yeah, well, it works.
Right.
So talking about the show and everything, how does this? I mean, obviously you start off as a toy expert, as the car expert on Pawn Stars.
Right.
How did that? Were you friends with Rick prior to Pawn Stars starting, or did they pull you in after the fact?
We knew each other. So Rick's got a brother named Chris that was one of the guys I used to ride back 100 years ago, ride with. So there was, wow, man, back in the very early 90s, there was a big crew of us. I'm talking like 25 large of crazy guys. And we would ride Harley guys, and we would ride every weekend. We're in the wind. And a few nights during the week, we'd be out and around town and acting like, you know, idiots. And, you know, we had that part down pat. And over the years,
You got from that one uncle, right? You're one.
exactly. Right. Exactly. I was stepping into Uncle Milford's shoes. So right. So over the years, you know, some of those guys are no longer with us. Some of those guys went to jail, and some of us decided, we pulled our heads out of our backsides and decided we were going to do something with our lives. And, you know, thankfully I was one of those that got my head on straight. But I used to, a brother of Rick named Chris, he used to be part of that crew. So we would ride all together all the time. And so loosely, I knew the Harrison family, but I didn't really know Rick like really well. But we knew each other. So, you know, fast forward, years go by, and Pawn Stars is doing quite well. And, you know, Rick, it's for real. You know, he buys stuff and he sells stuff. It's real. And so, you know, he does that with cars. He would buy cars and sell cars as well. And lots of times he'd buy cars, and he worked with a guy here in town who would fix things on them or whatever, make them nicer, and then Rick would sell them. Well, there was some sort of a falling out between Rick and that gentleman. I don't know. I don't even know who that gentleman was, and I don't know what the falling out was about. I don't know. But Rick just contacted me out of the blue one day and said, listen, man, I buy cars. I need some stuff done on them, and then I sell them. Do you want to do them? Sure. So I started doing stuff for Rick behind the scenes, and then he would ask me to come and do stuff, do a scene or two on Pawn Stars when a car would come in. Would you come, be my expert, talk to me about it, tell me if it's a good. So I started doing a little bit of that with him. And then he called me one day and he said, they want to do a scene with this, oh Lord, it was a Buick. It was a Skylark. It was a Buick Skylark. They want to do this Skylark and they want to be able to come to your shop, and they want Rick. When I say they, it's the producers. They want me and you interacting on the car, and then do the car, and then I'll sell the car later. He's like, can we shoot at your shop? I'm like, sure. So he came down and we shot at the shop. I kid you not, 1 week after we shot here, I get a phone call from the network in New York. And they're like, hey, we want to talk to you. And I'm like, what do you want to talk about? And I'm like, we want to talk to you about maybe doing a show. I'm like, okay. We want to send this producer out and spend some time with you. Fantastic. So this guy flies out from New York. Very nice guy, but typical reality show producer. So he spends probably 5 days with me here at the shop, kind of shadowing me, seeing what we do. Goes back to New York. They call me. They said, we love it. We love your shop. We love your people. We love you. All, very niceties, a lot of niceties. But we need more drama. We need some yelling and screaming. We need somebody to throw a chair through the window. We need, angry, go crazy type of stuff.
Yeah.
JC, the Lord watches over you, man. I'm a firm believer. And in the Bible, it says God watches over fools and children, and I'm no kid. So I'm very thankful that he was watching over me. And at the time, he gave me the insight to say, you got the wrong guy. I can't fake the funk.
Yeah.
I have to keep it real. Believe me, there's enough real drama as projects go along that we can keep it real. So I didn't hear from him for a while.
Because you're not the angry guy. You're not the throwing stuff. I've known you for a while now. And
That's just not me. I can't do it.
You just sold out there. So I couldn't imagine watching you portray that character. It's not real.
No way. I won't. You're right. It's not real. So a little bit of time goes by. They call me again. They're like, can we send out another producer? Sure. They send another guy out. This guy spends a week with me, flies back to New York. They call me on the phone. They're like, we want to do a show. Just do what you do. I'm like, now we're talking. So over the years, they see that there is real drama. It's not faking it. And one of the biggest blessings of going that route, car people, as the audience watching the show, they know what's real and they know what's not. And to me, one of the reasons Counting Cars lasted for a little over 10 years is because we kept it real, is because we fought to keep it real. And I'm really thankful for that. Another reason why the show lasted so long, and this was something that I didn't see coming, something that I didn't suspect what would happen. Building these cars and building these motorcycles and stuff for people is really cool, but I didn't realize that the stories behind it, the people's life stories, their families' stories, I didn't realize how that was going to become just a key role in Counting Cars. In some episodes, the vehicle basically became secondary to these people's stories. And it really just became so much about the people and their lives and their stories and the heartfelt, be it in memory of their father, be it something for the military, be it something, music related, whatever like that. It really became a powerful source like that. And I'm just so thankful that we kept it real. I mean, a new, fresh business. There were 9 of us when the network wanted to do a show. There were only 9 of us here in one building. And sure, man, a television show, yelling and screaming and throwing stuff, that's awfully tempting. But I'm so happy that we didn't. Now it's, there's like 5 buildings and there's, 30 of us and it's around the world, and it's just, it's a blessing. But it never would have worked if we had to fake it.
And I 100% agree. It would, because watching.
I also got to give props. I'm so thankful to History A&E family for allowing us to keep it.
and like you brought the stories, the people behind it, and I love car shows. I watch so many of them, and so many about cars, and they're entertaining.
Yeah,
but man, there's so many of your episodes. I sit there and watch. I'm like, here we go. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah,
I've cried over so many of your episodes. Some will come into the shop, and like you said, this was my dad's car, and you and your crew and Ryan. Okay, what is your dad like? My dad liked airplanes and Coca-Cola. And next thing you know, you got this bill that ties into everything that the person's father loved.
Yeah.
Or the car was left for dead, and you guys resurrected. So it's alive and on the road again, and the family's once enjoying this car that a family member had. It's amazing.
Amen. I didn't know that was going to happen. And the other thing that I cannot say enough nice things about, I'm so blessed with an amazing team. I have such an amazing team. Over the years, you know, I've collected cars and motorcycles, but I've collected some really good people. And my team, there's so much love in my house, and we all work together. I ain't gonna lie to you. There are days we come unglued on each other. There are days that, you know, it's a family. You know, you have these days and you have these days. But my team is so amazing and so talented that it's not me. It is us here. It's a very much an us thing here, and I can't give enough props to my team.
Well, the work you do on your car, I mean, it's next level.
It's crazy.
Ghetto Bob's interior work, right? The paint that Ryan does.
Yeah. Oh, Ryan's the best. Ryan's the best.
You guys did a Bronco a couple years ago for SEMA, which I've probably seen a dozen times, and it's spectacular.
A new Bronco.
Yeah. Was just here last week.
Yeah.
And that Bronco was out at the Fan Fest, and I walked by it again, like probably 13th time inspecting it, looking at it, and there's very different layers. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah.
The first time I saw it, there's so many layers to your builds.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the truth. We, you know, attention to detail is the key, and the different layers like you're talking about. And, you know, somebody will look at our ride and go, wow, that's really cool. But as you get into it and start paying more attention to it, you're like, you find these different layers of, oh my gosh, the coolness just keeps running deep and deep. It's awesome to be able to do that for somebody.
Well, I remember a couple of years ago, your SEMA build, it was a Chevelle convertible that you did and you were telling about the client.
Yeah.
And they wanted
East Coast guy, yeah.
Yeah, well, East Coast guy, yeah. And you said you wanted to keep it, you know, as original as possible, but he had a couple things. Well, he wanted more comfortable seats.
Yep.
He just wanted him and his wife, I think, to be comfortable. And he ended up taking seats, I think, out of a BMW.
Yep.
Putting him inside the Chevelle. And I sat inside this thing. You let me start it, which was still a moment for me.
Yeah.
But it's just like, wow, hey, I love this car, but the seats are not comfortable. And you took like the finest seats out there and put it inside this Chevelle.
Yep. He wanted it to look like an old Chevelle convertible, but he wanted it to be a new car. It's really what he wanted, a new car. So that thing's got an all new chassis, all new suspension, all new everything underneath, all new drivetrain. All that is brand spanking new, you know, left the body bone stock, but he wanted all of those creature comforts on the inside and the safety features, you know. So the reason we ended up with BMW seats being a convertible, you know, you don't have these kind of seatbelts.
Yeah.
He wanted those kind of seatbelts. So in modern convertibles, you know, the seatbelts are integrated into the seat. You know, so we can do that. So he had, you know, the shoulder straps. Same thing for the back seat because, you know, they got kids. They want to be able to do it. So we had to make the car modern. Everything about it was modern except the way it looked.
Yeah. You know, that night was the moment for me because I went to film you in that car and we did a walk around and I got to sit inside that car.
Yeah.
And you let me start it up, which may not have been a big thing for you, but I remember I remember that night.
Absolutely.
It was early December.
Absolutely.
I was in there, started the car up, and it was just like, it was a moment for me that, you know, my broadcast career, my love of cars brought me to that point.
Yeah.
In your career, everything you've done, the show, do you have a moment when you look back on and go like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to me?
Yeah, I have a couple of moments in the automotive thing that really got my attention. Now, one of them I'm so blessed to be able to still have, and that's my father's GT Mustang. And I point like this because if I lean this way, I can see it out the window over here. He brought 66 Mustang GT. He brought that car home when I was 9 years old. And it was a really big deal for him because, you know, back when I was a kid, you know, and Dad was a musician on the road, it wasn't like there was a lot of money in the bank. And he worked so hard to be able to score that car. He bought it used from a gentleman out of Cleveland and brought it home when I was a 9-year-old kid. And I remember going into the garage at night, just crawling all around this thing, inside it, under the hood, and just falling in love with it. And it was such an important car to him. And he was fortunate enough to be able to hold on to it his entire life. And then, of course, now it's been passed on to me. And it's the biggest influence in autumn. It started it for me as far as, like I said, I grew up with the family out of Detroit, the whole bit. I was always around it. But that car right there was a game changer for me. And it sits here in my museum, on the floor, and everybody gets to see it every day. But it's arguably one of the most important things in my life. But kind of along the lines of what you were talking about getting in that Chevelle and firing it up, and it was like a wow moment.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this was in 1979 or 80. I was in Newport Beach, California, and there was a classic car auction there. And there was a black 1966 427 AC Cobra at this auction. And it's the first time I ever saw one in person. I'd seen them in magazines and things like that. And as a young guy, I was blown away. I could not stop looking at, out of all the I couldn't leave the car. And the gentleman that owned the car must have seen me just losing my mind around this car, all day long. So when it came time for that car to go up to the auction block, I was still standing there looking at it. This guy was like, get in the passenger side. And so he allowed me to get in this car I was a kid, and he fired this thing up, and it was like an explosion underneath your butt. This thing, and just, shakes your guts loose from the inside out, and we're rolling this thing up onto the stand, up into the auction block. And, it was just amazing. And that's something that I've never forgotten in my life. And, 427 Cobras are now one of my favorite cars on the planet. Over my life, I've been fortunate enough. I have a contemporary, it's called a Contemporary Motor Cars 427 replica that I scored. You're not going to believe this, man. I scored this Contemporary 427 Cobra when I was 17. And it was a frame and a chassis and a body. And I was so lucky, but I couldn't do it. I didn't have any money to build it. I had enough money to score it. And I hit it. I stashed it. And fast forward, as years go by, this thing was in a warehouse for years. And as years go by, and I ended up moving to Florida. But like I said, back in the day, that's when I pulled the car out of storage, brought it to Florida, and built it back then. And that's the car I used to take to the beach when I go surfing.
Why are you going to make me cry again?
I know, dude. I'd be sitting in my black 427 Cobra with my local motion surfboard here.
Right, yes.
Go to the beach, man. So, that was back in the day. Right now, I do have CSX 4011. So CSX is an original 427 Shelby Cobra. The 4000 series was when they went to the continuation series, and Shelby put the 427s back into production years later. Serial number CSX 4011 is the number one continuation series 4000 series car ever released by Shelby, and I have that because I was very good friends with Don Rager, who was the president of Shelby at the time. He's no longer with us. But I sat down with Don, my father, and I sat down with Don, and Don said, Carroll says we're putting these back into production, the 4000 series. And Carroll always had a habit of taking the first 10 serial numbers and just putting them in a drawer if he ever wanted them. So the very first car of all of the series that he ever released is number 11. So if it was a 2000 series, the serial numbers from 2000 to 2010 would go in a drawer. Same thing with the 3000 series from 3000. Okay. So with the 4000 series, those first 10 numbers are paperwork that live in a drawer that he would just hold on to for whatever reason. So the very first car released of the 4000 series was 4011, 4011. and I own it. And so it's a very significant car. Yeah.
I got to come see it.
So that's a long answer to a short question. Though I got highly influenced by those cars back in the day.
Danny, this was awesome. They gave me an hour show and we filled it. This is fantastic.
You're kidding me. We've talked for an hour.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Well, let's do this again if you want, man.
Commercials, and we're in an hour. Yeah, we're in an hour.
I got more to say, brother. I got more to say.
I got more to talk to you about.
All right. There's 5 other lifetimes to share with you. The whole vampire thing, it might be real. I might have lived 5 lifetimes.
Seriously, man. Well, Danny, I say this every time. Thank you so much for your friendship. Man, I love you so much. And Kevin and the whole crew over there, you're the nice. You have to do this stuff for me. Anytime I call for anything, you guys are like, absolutely, let's do it. So,
you know what? I want you to know this, man. It's because of you. You are a gentleman. You are a professional. You are a gentleman. You treat people so wonderful. And it's not just me. My entire team, when they know when JC calls, everybody, it's for JC. Let's do this. Same thing with the band, Stoney Curtis. Same thing. Everything, anything JC needs, it's because of you, bro. You are the real deal. God bless you on this new show, on this new series. I look forward to seeing more and more of you, man. Channel 8 is so blessed to have you.
I love it. Look, there you go. That's the newsroom back there. They're doing news back there. I'm talking cars.
Amen. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Danny, thank you so much, brother. Love you.
You rock, man. Love you right back.